Chapter 5. Baba's return with Chand Patil's marriage party, welcomed and addressed as Sai, contact with other saints, his dress and daily routine, the story of the Padukas, wrestling bout with modern and change in life, turning water into oil, the pseudo Guru Java Ali, return with Chand Patil's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Shirdi after his disappearance. There lived in the Aurangabad district Nizam state in a village called Dupe, a well-to-do Mohammedan gentleman by name Chand Patil. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months, he made a diligent search but could get no trace of the lost mare. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After traveling 4 kos and a half, he came, on the way, to a mango tree under the foot of which sat a ratna queer fell. Lo, he had a cap on his head, wore kavni long robe, and had a satka short stick under his armpit, and he was preparing to smoke a chillum pipe. On seeing Chand Patil pass by the way, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and to rest a little. The fakir asked him about the saddle. Chand Patil replied that it was of his mare which was lost. The queer fellow or fakir asked him to make a search in the Nala close by. He went, and the wonder of wonders, he found out the mare. He thought that this fakir was not an ordinary man, but an Avalya, a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chillum was ready for being smoked, but 2 things were wanting: 1, fire to light the pipe, and 2, water to wet the chuppi piece of cloth through which smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcibly into the ground, and out came a live burning coal, which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground, from whence water began to ooze. The chuppi was wetted with that water, was then wrung out and wrapped round the pipe. Thus everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chillum and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day he went to the Patil's house and stayed there for some time. The Patil was a village officer of Dupe. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was Rom Shirdi. So Patil made preparations to start for Shirdi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch. The party returned to Dupe, except the fakir alone stayed in Shirdi, and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai. When the marriage party came to Shirdi, it alighted at the foot of a banyan tree in Bogata Morsapati's field near Khandoba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Khandoba's temple. And the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Morsapati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, "Ya Sai, welcome Sai." Others also addressed him as Sai, and thenceforth he became known as Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in a deserted masjid. One saint named Devidas was living in Shirdi many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple, in the Chavadi, and sometime lived alone. Then came another saint by name Jankidas. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Jankidas went to Baba's residence. So also one Vashya householder saint, from Puntam by name Gangagir, always frequented Shirdi. When he first saw Sai Baba, carrying pitchers of water in both hands, for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shirdi, that it got this precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land, Shirdi, was lucky and meritorious, it cured this jewel. So also one famous saint by name Anandnath of Yawala. Math 2. A disciple of Akalkat Maharaj came to Shirdi with some Shirdi people. When he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious dear Mond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a egar. Ordinary stone but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this he returned to Yawala. This was said while Sai Baba was a youngster. Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Sai Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, 3 miles from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, giant zui, and after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by name Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 earthen pitchers. With these Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they were broken, as they were made of raw earth and not baked. Next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Sai Baba's toil and labor, there grew a flower garden. On this site, at present, stands the big mansion, Samadhi Mandir, of Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of Padukas footprints under the neem tree. A devotee of Akalkat Maharaj by name Bhai Krishnaji Alabagkar worshipped the photo of Akalkat Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akalkat, Sholapur district, taking the darshana of the Padukas footprints of the Maharaj and offering his sincere worship there, but before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akalkat Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shirdi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was happy. As a reminiscence of this vision etc., he prepared the Padukas and installed them on an auspicious day of Shravan, Shaka 1834-1912 AD, under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities, conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upasani. One Dixit Brahman was appointed for worship, and the management was entrusted to devotee Sagan. Complete version of this story. Mr. B.V. Dio, retired Mamalatdar of Thana, and a great devotee of Sai Baba, made inquired about this matter with Sagan Merunaik and Govind Kamlakar Dixit and has published a full version of the Padukas in Sai Leela Volume 11, Number 1, page 25. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shaka 1912 AD, one Dr. Ramarao Kothare of Bombay came to Shirdi for Baba's darshana. His compounder, and his friend, Bhai Krishnaji Alabagkar, accompanied him. The compounder and Bhai became intimate with Sagan Merunaik and G.K. Dixit. While discussing things, these persons thought that there must be some memorial of the fact of Sai Baba's first coming to Shirdi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stones. Then Bhai's friend, the compounder, suggested that if this matter be made known to his master, Dr. Ramarao Kothare, who would prepare nice Padukas for this purpose. All liked the proposal and Dr. Kothare was informed of it. He came to Shirdi and drew a plan of the Padukas. He went to Upasani Maharaj in Khandoba's temple, and showed him his plan. The latter made many improvements, drew lotuses, flowers, conch, disc, man etc., and suggested that the following shloka verse regarding neem trees, greatness and Baba's yogi powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows. Sada nimbavrakshasya muladivasat, suthasravinam tiktamapi apriyam tam, taram kalpavrakshadikam sadhayantam, namamishwaram sadguram sai natham. Upasani's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The padukas were made in Bombay and sent to Shirdi with the compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnima 15th of Shravan. On that day at 11 a.m., G.K. Dixit brought them on his head from Khandoba's temple to the Dwarkamai Masjid in procession. Baba touched the padukas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install them under foot of the neem tree. A day before, one Parsi devotee of Bombay named Pastha Shet sent 25 rupees per by money order. Baba gave this sum for the installer Tian of the padukas. The total expense of installation came up to 100 rupees per, out of which 75 rupees per were collected by subscriptions. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dixit worshipped the padukas daily, and then this was done by Laxman Kacheshwar Jakadi. In the first 5 years, Drive Kothare sent 2 rupees per month for lighting, and he also sent the railing round the padukas. The expense of bringing the railing from the station to Shirdi, Rs. 7,801, presently Rs.7, 50p, and roofing was paid by Sagan Meru Naik. Now, Jakadi Nana Pujari does the worship, and Sagan Meru Naik offers the Naivedya and lights the evening lamps. Bhai Krishnaji was originally a devotee of Akalkat Maharaj. He had come to Shirdi at the installation of the padukas in Shaka 1834. On his way to Akalkat, he wanted to go to Akalkat after taking the darshana of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akalkat? Why do you go there? The incumbent Maharaj of that place is here, myself." Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Akalkat. He came to Shirdi off and on, after the installation of the padukas. Mr. B.V. Dio concluded that Hemadpant did not know these tales. Had he known them, he would not have failed to depict them in his Satcharitra. Resting bout with modern Tamboli and change in life. To return to other stories of Baba. There was a wrestler in Shirdi, by name Modern Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some items, and both had a fight. In this Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned kavni, wore a langat waistband, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his seat, sackcloth for his bed, and was content with wearing torn and worn-out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother, befriender of the poor. Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. While he was once wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion came over him. And at the proper time he heard the voice of an adept, saying that he should wear out his body, playing with God. So he too gave up samsara, and turned towards God realization. He established a math on the banks of the river near Puntam, and lived there with disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes under the shade of a branch of a babul tree, near the stream at the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go at times to Nimjane. There he frequented the house of Balasaheb Dingale. Baba loved Mr. Balasaheb. His younger brother, named Nanasaheb, had no son, though he married a second wife. Balasaheb sent Nanasaheb for taking darshana of Sai Baba, and after some time with his grace, Nanasaheb got a son. From that time on wards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar. From thence Nanasaheb, Chandorkar and Keshav Chidamba, and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day, and slept at night in an old and dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of a chilam, tobacco, a tumbrel, tin pot, long flowing kavni, a piece of cloth round his head, and a satka, short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on the head was twisted, like matted hair, and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes, no sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a kupan waist cloth band, and for warding off cold he always sat in front of a duni sacred fire, facing south, with his left hand resting on the wooden rail. In that duni, he offered as oblation, egoism, desires and all thoughts. And always uttered Allah Malik, God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912 AD, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in this masjid, he lived for a long time in a place Takia, where with gunga, small bells, on his legs, Baba danced beautifully, sang with tender love, turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers, and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The Banayas one, who supplied oil gratis, once met together and decided not to give him oil. When, as usual, Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamps. The Banayas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tumral tin pot, which contained very little, a few drops of oil, put water into it and drank it and forced it fall in the container. After consecrating the tin pot in this way, he again took water in the tin pot and filled all the lamps with it and lighted them. To the surprise and dismay of the watching Banayas, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The Banayas repented and apologized. Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in future. The pseudo-guru Java Ali. 5 years after the wrestling bout mentioned above, one fakir from Ahmednagar by name Java Ali came to Rahata with his disciples and stayed in Bakal, spacious room near Virabhadra temple. The fakir was learned, could repeat the whole Quran and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of the people, he started to build an Idgah, a wall before which Mohammedans pray on Idgah day near the Virabhadra temple. There was some quarrel about this affair, on account of which Java Ali had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shirdi and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk, and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru, teacher, never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the defects of the Guru, still he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shirdi off and on, but their mainstay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba in Shirdi did not like that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata, so they went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shirdi. When they met Baba near the Idgah and told the purpose for which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was an ill-tempered fellow, he would not leave him and that they should better return to Shirdi without him, before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some discussion and altercation, and it was finally decided that both the Guru and chela should return to Shirdi. And so they returned and lived in Shirdi. But after a few days the Guru was tested by Devidas and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shirdi with the marriage party, this Devidas aged about 10 or 11 came to Shirdi and lived in the Maruti Temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was dispassion incarnate and Arjunani. Many persons, namely Thakur, Kashinath and others regarded him as the Guru. They brought Java Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Java was worsted and fled from Shirdi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shirdi, and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba his chela was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed by actual conduct how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end, viz., self-realizer. Tien. This story is told here according to the version given by Morsapati, a great devotee of Baba. In the next chapter will be described Rama Navami Festival 1, the masjid, its former condition and later improvement etc. Bo to Shri Sai, peace be to all.